I was just saying that sometimes having self-worth is really annoying because this self-worth thing, it just really stops you from sometimes having a good time. Do you know what I mean? Like everyday self-worth, everyday know your worth. Sometimes I don't want to know my worth. Sometimes, I just want to get my back blown out. But because I know my worth.
Hey, you know what it is, yeah? Let me tell you something, yeah? Only Zizi can say something like that, yeah? And make it sound so good. Nah, seriously, I said, I met this girl years ago. Only she could say something like that and make it sound so good. You know what's so funny as well? Even when I met her then, I met her at church. It might have been at uni, but I think what my recollection was church, KICC, back in the day. You know that African pastor? Can't remember what his name is. He said, Shimmy, that's the guy. And she would talk the exact same way, only more in a Christian form, let's say, where you're less like, is it provocative? Like, but whereas now, yeah, she's saying it, but it's like she's saying the same thing in that word, saying the same way, but just saying it in a different form. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't scared to say her thoughts. This is why it's not new for me when I see her say stuff like that. You know, but shout out to Zizi. Her greatest feature is her lips. I must admit. Nah, she's got some nice lips. You got actually, you gotta lie. No, we was talking about it
No
earlier.
comment.
Look, man. Shout out to Zizi, but respectfully, yeah. We have to respect this thing of reputation. And sometimes what we allow is for our reputation to dictate how we operate. Your self-worth is something that you feel within yourself. Your reputation is something that you present to the world. That reputation needs to be maintained in order for people to take you seriously. But that doesn't mean that the reputation means it controls your life. Because if you're not careful, that thing controls your life too much, you're going to dislike your life. Because you live to people's expectations. Do you get what I'm saying? And when you live to people's expectations, Loso is really dangerous. No one's saying you can't have moments where you want to go wild. It shows you're human. No one's saying you don't have moments of vulnerability. It shows you're human. Your self-worth is not determined by your reputation or what people expect of you. Your self-worth is based on how you see yourself. So respectfully, if I'm telling you my self-worth is what it is, and well, I'm an educated block boy, I do what I do, I am who I am, and you believe that my self-worth is worth 100 million, I could feel it's worth way more than that. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to base my self-worth on your 100 million. I'm going to base it on what I believe, which is that if you don't accept where I'm coming from, then we can respect the fact that you don't care for my self-worth. Yeah. And what we have to respect is that the world doesn't have to care for your self-worth, but my reputation. Yeah. Now that could be something that we have to consider. So therefore, Zizi, the world doesn't need to know that you want to get your back blown out. You just... Because respectfully for her, in her industry and what she's doing, there's a reputation that she has to maintain. Unfortunately, it comes with the territory. No different from a teacher in a school, no different from a hospital, no different from a politician. No different from a king and a queen. You know what I'm saying? And the royal family. There's a reputation that we have to maintain. But your reputation doesn't determine your self-worth. So ain't nobody expecting her to not get a back blown out whenever she feels like it. Ain't no one expecting that she's some Virgin Mary. Well, I mean, she could present herself that way, but that's not the case. I mean, look at Whitney. What I fear the most is that we confuse self-worth with reputation. And what happens, sadly, is that we make our reputation so much more important than our self-worth that we live for the expectations of people. And when we live for the expectations of people, which is that we're afraid of what people will say about us, we no longer live no more. It's very, very dangerous. So have your moments of madness, but have your moments of madness within the realms of people that you're allowed to be mad with. We're singing Whitney Houston's songs, gospel, whatever else. We don't know behind closed doors, her and Bobby are sniffing coke.
I got it.
You know what I'm saying? But the reputation that we've been given from them is that. Now, sometimes when you're going down that road and you're proper trying to live to those expectations, you crack. And then you slip up sometimes. And then before you know it, you're messed up. Because after a while, you say to yourself, when can I be me?
I'm tired of acting.
I'm tired of acting. And you know what? We're doing Gabz TV now. And, you know, and we're doing this thing. And you know what? I said to a few people the other day, the reason why this works for me is because I can be myself. The moment I go into this industry and I'm no longer myself, which is that I have to be what in actual fact I'm expected to be because they pay me or because I'm sponsored or because of whatever else, that's when I have to be very careful of how much I dedicate my life to that thing. I recognize that it's just a job. One wise man, I ain't gonna say who, in my career, when I was doing the mentoring, like schools wise, and I was going hard the way I was going, I wanted to change the world, Loso. And I thought in my mind to change the world, I had to also represent that change. And I pushed myself to change, to be what in actual fact, the model of what it is that they need me to be in order for me to inspire them. Until I realized, until that man spoke to me one time when I asked him, how have you been doing this for 50 years? My man said, it's just a job. Gabriel, it's just a job. Which is that you conduct yourself as a professional. You represent yourself as a professional. You act in accordance to that profession. But your life away from that profession, completely separate. So respectfully, I can understand why a lot of celebrities, they'll do the camera thing for a bit, then they go and disappear far in the wind because maybe they do want to sniff some coke. Maybe they do want to take some weed. Maybe they do want to drink and go crazy. They don't want the camera on them all the time because they recognize that it's just a job. It's their profession to maintain a certain standard. But those professions don't determine your self-worth. That's an internal thing. So, ZZ, your self-worth is completely separate from your reputation. And to expect every single person to understand that your self-worth is much more than your reputation is bad for you, my darling. Because respectfully, when we hear you talk and you say things like giving blows or doing this or doing that, naturally what we're gonna, no, not what we, naturally what they're gonna think is all you're trying to do is blow bare cock. When truthfully, they don't know your self-worth. That's not who you are. What you're doing is you're basically talking about something that really and truly people sometimes feel uncomfortable to talk about, but are happy to hear you say it because they want someone else to be on that. Don't allow your reputation in your profession to determine your self-worth. We know your worth. And you're 10 times more worth more than all of the things that people say. So it's calm. That self-worth is a personal thing, Zizi. It's got nothing to do with your reputation or, you know, who you are. And if we confuse those things, we somehow live to the expectations of people. And if we live to the expectations of people, we're no longer comfortable with who we are. I don't live to people's expectations. So I comfortably say, I have moments. If I've done everything that I need to do in my job, in my career, with my son, in my life, when I choose to have a drink, leave me alone.
Let's get on to the next video then.
That expectation is real, you know.
Oh, for real.
Where it's very dangerous. Imagine you could do everything in society, everything that says that you are a responsible man in society. Finish school, graduate, get a job, buy a house, be a good African, be a good Britishman. All of the things that say you're a man, all for what? To meet the expectations of what society says is a good man. And when you do that, imagine, you now have to maintain that still. Pick a good wife, pick at this, don't do this, don't do that. My guy, if I've done all the things that society expect of me to be considered a good man, when I go to the block and I eat my Chinese, don't talk. Because that's a personal thing. I want to enjoy myself anyway. I want to enjoy.
Just chill with the man, them, you know.
I want to chill with the guys and chat some shit. Hey, shout out to Zizi though, man. Shout out to Zizi.